There we go. Okay. Well, hey guys, everyone, thank you very much for joining us today. I want to introduce you to David Shaw, who is the CEO of Yellow Letters Complete. When looking at different options out there for how to do direct mail, obviously there's a lot of different ways to do it. What we found with David's company at Yellow Letters Complete is something unique, and that doesn't come across all the time. We had one of our clients use his services when I've never heard of him, and she had phenomenal results. So I asked if David had time to come on and kind of help share, the knowledge of what they do, because when you pair likely sellers with his services at Yellow Letters Complete, there seems to be some magic that happens. With that, David, thank you for joining, and please lead us away.
Yeah, thanks, Brad. Thanks for inviting me on here. I wanted to take a little time to go over some best practices in direct marketing and just kind of what it takes to get a direct mail campaign set up. So I prepared a little presentation here for us. So I'm going to go ahead and share that with you.
Awesome. And as you get started, your clientele, you work with real estate agents, you work with brokers, real estate investors, lenders as well, or kind of what are the
Yeah, we work across the entire real estate spectrum. A lot of investors, a lot of agents, some of the lenders as well. We've been doing this for over 10 years, so we've really seen a lot of growth in direct marketing in the real estate world. And our business and our message has changed along with the way that world has evolved as well. But ultimately, we do kind of a really back to basics approach to it that a lot of other companies aren't willing to do. So let me kind of kick it off here and just kind of start with some basics. What is direct marketing? I like to think about it as the less cluttered, filter-free marketing channel. You have a direct path to the person you want to get a hold of. You don't have to worry about digital filters. There's no spam filters. There's no inbox filters. You can get your message and your mail piece directly in front of someone. And the way we take that approach, we really help you do that by taking a very personalized, handwritten approach to direct marketing. That's correct. So we actually have real writers, real people who write Postit Notes, envelopes, you name it. So it's a lot of companies put a lot of effort in trying to fake that, but we find that just using the real thing ends up being the most personal and effective approach.
Because I have to vouch for that, because I didn't believe David when he told me, when I called him, I don't know, a couple months back when I first heard about his business. So I actually asked him to send some to me because I'm like, all right, man, I love the concept. If it's like Malaysian slave labor or something crazy, I can't back it. So give me some examples of what you got. And what he sent me was, he sent me several of these different envelopes, and you can see there's, they're not perfectly spaced. There's ink blots. It's clearly handwritten. So very impressive, David, that you have this type of product at scale.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't put any barcodes on there. It looks and feels like something that you, Brad, could have written out yourself and sent directly to your prospects. And that's the way we want it to feel when they receive that mail. Because the important things on direct marketing are engagement and response rate. So just to kind of level set across the whole industry, there's industry-wide numbers. It's about 5% response rate on a cold prospect list, and 42% are going to read or scan the mail that they receive. And again, these are the numbers we really want to maximize. But what's kind of nice about direct mail is it tends to stick around. You see direct mail stay in a house for 2.5 weeks. That's crazy compared to a piece of digital marketing that someone's going to scroll right past, and you're looking at a time of seconds to get a hold of them.
Is that 4.9%? I thought it was 2%. Is it 4.9 now? Wow.
Yeah, that's across the whole industry. And if you're looking at a list of prospects that you're familiar with and that know you, it's even higher. Okay. It's closer to 9-10%.
Wow.
So, that's another good way to, get a hold of people, is just to warm them up over time and get them, I can show you a couple ways that we see people kind of drive up from that, 1, 2 to 5 to 10%.
Okay.
In real estate, it's a very natural, easy way to market because we have great data quality within the United States. It's very well maintained. And if you find a property you're interested in, it's very easy to ultimately get a hold of the person who owns it to see if they're interested in selling.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to just kind of break down a direct mail campaign into 4 pieces here. We're going to talk about the mailing list, the likely sellers. Once you have an appropriate mailing list set up, how do I form a correct message that's going to, engage and inform? We'll go through some of the mail pieces that we offer and the approach that we take. And then finally, you hear it all the time in direct marketing and in any sales process. Follow-up, multi-touch is just critically important to really boost those numbers up across the board.
You know what I love about this? The 4 M's. I have a marketing degree, and so that triggers the 4 P's, right? Product, price, place, promotion. But it's the 4 M's for direct mail. I love it.
Yeah. Awesome. So here's the traditional approach. There is a lot of different lists that you can do. You can build your own list, do your own research. You can filter your own data. There's some good guidance around what's been effective in the past. Ultimately, there's a ton that you can filter on. I mean, there's 100x more ways to look to slice public data on absentee and owner-occupied properties. And then if you really want to go and do some research, you can dig into court cases, notice of default, code violations. There's a lot that's out there, but either you're trying to sort through court filings, you're driving around spending a lot of time and effort on your own, or you're trying to, figure out your own slice of the data. And you can be very successful in using these lists. But, in what I've really learned and come to appreciate is the Likely.AI approach, where you take all that, you do all that work, you take all the knowledge that you've seen across the country, and you can filter that for us. And, that's been a really powerful thing for some of our mutual clients to be able to take a list that has been, pre-processed, pre-filtered through a really smart engine and just pop out, those 1,000 or so people that are most likely. Because if you focus on one target, there may be other opportunities that you're missing, but you help people kind of take the shortcut and figure out who's going to be the right set of sellers across the board. And I know the current situation with COVID-19, it's changed a lot. So even trying to navigate that situation right now, we're getting questions like that all the time. Hey, how do I market? Who do I market to right now? And Brad, I think you mentioned that you were coming up with some new solutions for that as well, right?
Yeah, we actually did. We just launched COVID impacted properties, where we provide the top 1,000 most impacted properties within each county. It's a single license, so you just come and buy it one time, use as much as you want, come back and update it when you want. But we basically look at kind of 3 tiers, like how impacted is the county from like CDC, Johns Hopkins, all that data. Then we say, okay, segment 1 is how likely are they to actually contract it. So, what's the density of their units? How many people live within that unit? What occupation, travel, like location where they live? All of those pieces kind of come together and go, okay, this person's likely to contract it. And then you come over to the financial side. Say, if you do contract it, how painful is it because of your marital situation, your LTV, kids in the household? Are you in an occupation where you could be out of a job because of all the deferrals, all that? So yeah, we do, and we have a lot of clients that have been using it. And thank you for bringing it up, because I think there's a lot of synergy with what you offer. Utilizing that. I mean, and that's totally separate than likely sellers, which I believe the majority of our joint customers have been using today.
Yeah. The COVID-19 has changed everything. It's changed the way that we work, the way that we live. and the way we think about marketing and the way people think about their homes. So, there's a lot to sift through there, and I love that you've come up with some solutions to help us out with that.
Of course, and I mean, we came at it from like an industry, hey, let's help rather than let's let people go in and actually harm this cohort because they need help, but they don't usually know who to ask, or maybe if they do know someone that's in the business, they're too shy to ask about it. So having a third party come in with something that's friendly, like a handwritten letter, I think is an ideal way to make first contact.
Yeah, and we've just to kind of segue into messaging here, we've come up with a couple COVID-19 templates that again try to lean into that helpful, useful, times are tough right now, but I might be able to help you out type of message. And those have been really, really powerful for a lot of our clients who are trying to find the right words to engage in this current environment, because it is very challenging right now, right? You have to be sensitive. You have to be, understanding of this is going to change the way that we work together, virtual consultations, virtual visitations are becoming more prevalent. Social distancing is very important as we try to, prevent the spread of this disease. But at the same time, there's a lot of people who are looking for homes. And so being able to transact and offer a way to sell a property in that environment is really, really powerful. And making it clear to your prospects that you understand that and that you're willing to kind of work with them and be patient and, do what it takes to get that job done in the end. We're seeing some really good and positive results from combining that type of targeting with a very clear message. So
you're saying basically, hey, have personalize it, state who you are, tailor it to whatever mailing list you're mailing to, and then that clear call to action of what they.
I mean, personalized mail is always going to get a better response. You want to give some sort of differentiation. Assume that person is receiving more than one piece of mail or more than one piece of marketing. So why should they work with you? You don't have to overthink it, but at least, explain who you are, because you want to use this as an opportunity to warm up that list. Like I mentioned earlier, a warm prospect's going to have a better, higher response rate than a totally cold prospect list. Well, we do a couple things to try to warm them up in that process. And that's, offering something with a piece of handwritten mail that looks more personal, looks like you reached out directly, and also use that message as an opportunity to say why you're a good person to work with, especially in a time like this. Yeah. And anything you can do to let them know that, hey, I understand your situation or your neighborhood or, whatever kind of motivating factor it is that you think is, kind of prevalent in why you're reaching out to them. It's okay to mention that. The more you can tailor it and personalize it, that's going to help your response rate. Yeah. And then finally, just we like to see a single clear call to action, usually a phone number for direct mail, because as they want to respond to you, you want to get them and start your sales process as quickly as possible. So we usually say just a piece of, direct contact information is a best practice there.
And is it usually call me or text me? Like, which one do you see more people do?
We're seeing call or text a lot more. Email is good as well. What you want to think about, though, is if you start putting a web address on there, what you don't want is to give up a direct contact for a web hit. Yeah. So as long as it's a piece of direct contact information, you're gonna do well.
That's a really smart piece of feedback right there. Like, don't trade a direct contact for a web visit. Like, that is very well said. Okay. And so just a little advice. I mean, I'm going to guess you have a lot of clients that are in, competing with iBuyers now that they're coming back to the market. Anything, words of wisdom around what that tailored or differentiated would be in the situation if you're an agent, going, mailing to a market that has a big iBuyer in it? Have you seen anything kind of specific for that?
So, kind of across the board for agents, what we like to see is, again, we go with that personal approach. We go with that that approach that says, hey, I'm going to work with you every step of the way here, and offering a piece of handwritten mail kind of makes that connection right up front, because it says, hey, we're going to be hand in hand. I'm going to give you the best possible service and experience that I possibly can. I took the time to write this letter to you personally, even if it's, a company like YellowLettersComplete behind it. We want them to think about that. There's a lot of different tools that real estate agents have now, but ultimately part of your sale is going to be you. Again, that's why should they work with you specifically? There's a lot of different, agents that can use the iBuyer system, but there's going to be something about you, your business, your knowledge that's going to make it, most relevant for them and make it the best possible transaction for them. And so you still want to bring out those elements of it.
Yeah, that's a great piece right there, because you're having that hand touch. We're not going to just hit you with display ads. Like, this is we invest in you. I would ask you about what you would say for lenders, but I don't want to bog this down because I know you got some more slides to go to. So please continue, my friend.
Sure. So just to kind of deep dive a little bit more, here's an actual letter. We've got elements of branding and personalization. There's a headshot on there, so they know exactly who's going to be answering the phone if they call. We've personalized it. We're mentioning the specific property. In this case, we're mentioning a specific neighborhood. I came across your property at the property address in Rainbow Creek neighborhood. And then we want to close it out with a very clear, obvious call to action. So we've got the phone number right there. Hey, give me a call. This is the person who's gonna contact you when when we answer the phone. And we have a ton of different templates on our site, that are fully customizable. We can change anything and everything about them. The templates are there because they've been, kind of gleaned and best practices from, the thousands of clients that we've worked with over the years. But ultimately, if you can take the time to even customize a couple different sentences, that introduction, hi, my name is Dave, I'm a local real estate agent here in Douglas County, take another sentence or two just to explain a little bit more about you and your business. That's gonna help as well.
That's always one of the big questions I get is, what should I say? But that's good.
Yeah.
You put right there.
So now that we've got kind of an idea of the right message or at least how to form a correct message, I'm going to cover some of the most common mail pieces, and those are essentially the vehicle for that message. Ultimately, letters, cards, postcards. The yellow letter is an example of what you see there. The letter itself is going to be a handwritten font. We've got, or at least a printed piece of handwriting. We have a lot of different ways that we create those to make it look and feel like a truly handwritten note. We always use a handwritten address on the actual envelope. No barcodes on there, and we even use a return address label, which is not something that most direct mail companies use. That's something that you, as an individual, would use to send out a personal letter. So that's why we took that approach, because we want it to look and feel like this is a personal letter. There's an actual stick your stamp on there instead of a printed on indicia. And then for postcards, there's big flashy postcards. They're not going to have that handwritten aspect all the time, but there's other ways of kind of getting people's attention to pay attention and make sure that your message gets read. And I'll cover later on a little bit about how we combine these things together into a more complete long-term campaign.
Yeah, great.
So again, the handwritten envelope, that is what we really specialize in. So no matter what type of letter you want to use, there's a lot of different ways to get your mail to stand out. And this is actual real people behind this. We've got an army of people up here in Wisconsin who, write envelopes, stamp letters, write Postit notes. They'll even sign a wedding signature on there. There's, for real estate agents, the way we think about it is we want to up the ante of that ultimate personal high touch service right from the first piece of marketing. So when they give you a call, they have a different set of expectations and a higher set of expectations for you than any other real estate agent that they're going to be reaching out to. So whether you want to take that in a yellow letter as one of our signature letters or something seasonal, I get that question a lot as well. How do I just mix it up and send something different? Sending something seasonal is always appropriate, whether that's changing the color of the envelope, using a piece of stationery, or even incorporating that into your message. That's just a really easy way to, spark a new type of engagement with your prospects.
Yeah, I'm just glad you have an army of people that can spell and their handwriting's not messed up because everyone types today. So
we have a robust QA process as well, where every single letter gets checked before it gets mailed out.
Okay.
So it's even though there's a lot of people, we've got a pretty streamlined process, which allows us to do this for a very competitive price. It's 99 cents for one of our yellow letters, and it's for a piece of truly handwritten mail. It's hard to beat.
Yeah, for sure. Excellent. Okay, keep teaching us.
Sure. Yeah, sure. And here, this is just, I kind of mentioned this already, but using a colored envelope, using an actual stamp, whether it's a first class stamp or a pre-sorted standard stamp, offering that truly handwritten touch and kind of upping the ante with that return address label. It looks and feels like you, Brad, created this piece of mail personally and sent them one individual letter. That's the feeling that we want the recipients to have when they open this piece of mail. If you think about your experience sorting through a mail, you're going to see window envelopes, big, scary looking things that look like bills. We want someone to have a pleasant, enjoyable experience, to look forward to opening the letters that you send them.
So on the color, that's another question I get. When you sent us some examples, we've got just 3 right here. I think some more somewhere over here in different sizes. One of our clients used blue, had a great success with that. Is there any, I'm sure there's science around the color, but do you have any either anecdotal or scientific, hey, use this color for this, that color for that?
Sure. So our guidance is a couple ways of thinking about it. One, if you have branding, specific brand colors. I know for some big real estate agencies, we have specific, ink and envelope matching colors that align with their brand colors. So you can leverage your brand equity and your brand recognition right from the first appearance in a way that, they probably haven't seen before in a piece of mail. The other way to do it is to think seasonally. Through the spring, we see people use a ton of pastels because, that's an appropriate color for springtime. They start to get, more colorful through the summertime, the bright oranges, bright pinks, really attention grabbing things. And then later in the year, red, green, something seasonal that is appropriate for the holidays. That tends to get overall the best, kind of feeling, or the best use of using a color envelope there. Ultimately what we want is just to break up that experience of going through the stack of mail, where you get immediately filtered into, wow, I got to take a look at this. I haven't seen a letter like this. I haven't seen an envelope like this. Let me give this the attention that it's due because someone took the time to create this, beautiful looking piece of mail for me personally.
Okay, so you're saying basically match to your branding, or is there a standout using a bright color would be the 2 things? Is that?
Yep, something seasonal as well, like a seasonal theme, whether it's, so we're in June right now. So we see people starting with brighter colors, bright blues, pinks, oranges, something like that. That's really gonna stand out. Got it.
So seasonal bright or with a branded color to kind of stand down the stack of mail. Okay, that's guys. These are pearls of wisdom here. So remember these. I'll probably write this up, but as we go through, if there's pieces like that, I'm going to call them out because David is in a very unique situation, be able to kind of see everything that everyone's doing and pass on those best practices, so what to do when you reach out and start doing some mailings with them. Please continue.
Awesome. The other way to take it is to up the ante with that personalization. And one of the products that we've introduced in the last 12 months is a Postit Note letter, where we have, an actual 3x3 yellow Postit Note, and the same writer who writes the envelope is going to put a personal call to action on there, or a personal quick little message. It's a great way to increase engagement, and there's actually good science behind it. This has actually been studied by the Journal of Consumer Psychology, and attaching a Postit Note just drastically changes the way that people respond to it and engage and act upon it. We've had lots of clients start using this. It's becoming more and more popular as things get more competitive, and there's also a nice little takeaway. They can take it off the letter, stick it on their desk, save it for later, and you put your phone number on there. They have your contact information just ready and waiting. That's like going back to the first part. That's one of the nice pieces about direct mail, is that you can stay in the home. Your base of marketing can live with that person for a much longer piece of length of time than a piece of digital marketing can. So again, another way to leverage our unique approach.
I totally agree. We had a client actually. I think it was before I saw this with you guys, but I love you doing it because I totally agree with you. We had a client, an early beta client in San Francisco. She was sending out, she sent out 30 letters and got a $5 million listing, but she was sending out a short handwritten letter that was typed. It was a handwritten address, but she put a sticky note in there saying, call me, with her number. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Man, I was so blown away as she landed a giant listing on a 30 postcard mailing. 30 mailing. So I think it's
incredible.
Really put in there.
Some of the most successful campaigns that we've seen, getting multiple listings, buying multiple houses off of a single point mailing, leveraging this approach, a cost per acquisition in the sub $500 range. They do really, really well, especially in an environment like this where, that personal reaching out to someone one-on-one approach. I think it's a really nice way to offer up, that high touch service right from the get-go.
Yeah. Okay. I love it. It's very, very smart. Can't believe you can do that. Yes, you should do it operationally. I think most people get to this piece where it's like kind of like a handwritten postcard, right? That's what you can scale, most providers. So that's why I was really interested in talking. And I know I don't want to take up all of your time this afternoon, so please keep going.
Yeah, the Post-it, real quick, if you're going to automate things, it's near impossible to do. But because we have real people in our process, it's a very natural, cost-effective way to just up the ante with your mailing. On the postcard side, we're seeing a lot of growth in postcards. But again, how do you personalize it? It's a much more visual medium. So, the real big trend is to get a picture of their house off of Google and put that on there, because they're going to recognize that. That's going to kind of spur a similar type of engagement with the mail piece and get that specific response that you're looking for.
Sure. Okay.
So how do we bring this all together? We've got a good message. We've got a couple good mail pieces. How do we schedule this out into a long-term campaign that's gonna really maximize our response rate? When you have a good list, there's motivating factors there. They're likely to want to sell. Sometimes it just comes down to timing and follow-up, where as they get used to you, as they understand your message, as they see your branding, that will boost your response rate over time. I'll run through a real quick example here where we build rapport and recognition across multiple touches. For most lists, you're probably looking at about every 4 weeks. Trying to mail any sooner than that, you probably need a really good reason. I think about it as, is there a ticking clock? There are some situations like, notice a default situation where there's a literal ticking clock. If it's someone who's owned their property for 10 years, there's not a high sense of urgency. So you might as well use that time to your advantage. Reach out about once a month, mix it up, use a couple different letters, a couple different postcards, again, back to the different envelope colors, something that you send in February, maybe use a pink envelope. By the time you get to July, maybe you want to use something that's blue for Independence Day. But that brand recognition, that rapport that you build, does boost response rate over time. So when you know that you have confidence in your list, that's when it makes sense to invest in those extra touches to really get the absolute most you can out of that mailing list.
So I'm going to put you on the bubble here because I love that it's a 3-month, and I didn't catch that earlier when you were talking. Because likely sellers are a 90-day prediction. They mature out, out to 180 days, but that first 90 days or 3 months is kind of what we usually talk about the most, because we see about 1 in 10 or more actually list within that period of time. Some areas are north of 20%. So, my ask to you, put you on the spot, would be if you were to say, hey, this is the likely seller campaign. It's a 3-month drip. What would it be? What card, what would be the message? If you can help us with that, I would love to put that in with this video where we send it out, so that way people can say, man, okay, that's the likely seller drip with Yellow Letters Complete.
Sure.
Sure. That's really what I think a lot of people are looking for. I've heard it phrased this way, is that what Likely's developed, right, is I guess the simpler way to say it is people, agents, lenders, brokers, they don't really want a diet plan, right? What they want is a diet pill. And so if you can, take this, AI modeled list combined with this is what you do mailing campaign, there's your diet pill, rather than saying figure it out on your own and, remember to do these 17 different things. So I would love to ask you for that, because I think that would be an ideal way to, guide people right into this is what the best practices are for handwritten letters with likely sellers.
Sure. And you kind of got it right in front of you. If you're thinking about a 90-day time frame, I'm probably going to say, send 3 pieces. Send about once a month in that time frame, where you have some sort of introduction, usually a letter. Letters just get better engagement than postcards do. The yellow letters are a great way to do that because it offers that kind of handwritten personal appeal right up front. We want to take some of those best practices around branding and color as well to incorporate that in our campaign. Month 2, we want to send a follow-up. Let them know that you're still interested. You're still in that window of time that we think that they're highly likely to put their house up on the market. So let them know you're interested. Again, any sort of branding elements, reuse those so that they know that you're serious. So they know that when they see that logo or the headshot, they connect that back to the last piece that you sent them, and that you have that contact information where they can get a hold of you directly. If you're thinking about a 3-month window, one last shot. If you want to think about your budget, throw in a postcard, make it big and bright if you want, but at least get those 3 pieces in. If you want to be more aggressive, you can probably tighten that up to 2 or 3 weeks on the mailing schedule. If you really want to make sure that you're hitting them as hard as you can in that time frame. But even then, if that home hasn't been listed, put them on a drip campaign that's a little bit longer. You can even put them on maybe a quarterly series after that, where you take all the houses that have been on the likely sellers list but haven't made it yet to market. Well, check in with them. Those are still good prospects. There's still a lot of motivating factors there. Maybe you don't want to be quite as aggressive with your marketing. Maybe you want to shift those marketing dollars to the fresher leads. So I would think about maybe your 3 touches right up front in that prime time frame. Mix it up. Send a yellow letter, send a signature letter, send a postcard. Increase engagement across all 3 of those touches. And then if they're still not moving after that, put them on a longer term drip. Check in with them. Maybe extend your time frame, right? So you can extend the utility of your marketing budget there. But there's still good reason to check in with them over time. So that would be my guidance on thinking about the likely sellers list.
And like a 3-month drip like that makes a lot of sense. Is the call to action the same on all 3, or is it like an intro, a reminder, and a reminder of what you've done, or like what do you?
As far as the call to action, I'm still going to keep the same words of advice. Direct contact. Direct method of contact. Call or text me at this phone number. Give them an email address. Phone is better than email. Email is better than web. But make sure that's consistent as well, because you don't want to confuse them. You want to make it super clear and obvious. When they take a look at your mail piece, they know exactly what they want to do. They know exactly what to do and why they should be giving you the call as opposed to anyone else.
Okay, awesome. Perfect. I don't want to kick a dead horse there, but that's good.
And here, just to kind of flush it out a little bit more, multimedia, different approaches, it just helps engagement, right? We're trying to just get someone to re-engage, make them look and feel like they're part of a personal, campaign or a personal, letter series, as opposed to some automated marketing campaign. Even if that's what we're helping you do, it doesn't need to feel that way.
Yep.
And so finally, I wanted to take a look at an actual example of a case. This is not a likely sellers list, but this is an example of, of response rate that we tracked for one of our clients over time. Mm-hmm. This was a campaign run around this time last year, early summer, late spring. And I believe the touches were postcard letter. And you see, after the first touch, it wasn't a great campaign. You're not even hitting 0.5% response rate on it. Mm-hmm. But we were really able to increase that over the second touch. And then finally, as people saw, okay, this is a serious message, we're sending different pieces of mail, we're re-engaging them every time, we got that to over 10% response rate, after those 3 touches. And so, that's where we see the power of that follow-up, where it really does build upon your prior marketing. Even if they didn't respond to that first postcard, that first letter, whatever it was, sometimes they're going to hold on to it for a while and respond later. And sometimes it just takes a little bit of follow-up and waiting for things to change as well. Especially right now, things are changing very, very rapidly. So checking in with people after a little bit of time has passed can just offer the opportunity for, hey, does it make sense now? Is now the right time for you to sell? Is this, have things changed in your life that, have it, maybe it makes sense now, whereas 2 months ago, you weren't even thinking about it. So that follow-up is just critically important to really maximizing your response rate on any list.
What I love about this graph is the first client that we had that was using you, and kind of what spurred me to get to know you and all the great products you have, is that graph was in touch 1. It was at that spike, and she calls like, it's been 2 weeks after the mailing went out, so it's probably just landing. And she's like, man, we've had to cut other marketing off. We're at over, I think they were right about a 10% response rate, 9.5%, 10%. I think there was like 200 letters or something. But she already had a listing. She had 13 CMAs, 2 people already with an agent. And she's like, it was simple. My call to action was, hey, I have a lot of buyers. If you're actually in the market and would be willing to look at an offer, let's talk. It was that simple.
Yeah.
It was just It was the right person, right channel, because they opened the letter, and it resonated really well. So I want to try to get that chart to look like that for all of our future clients together. So guys, I hope you listened to what David was talking about, because there was a lot of really good pieces in there about how to match your brand to the letter. Different strategies for, the call to actions and how to stay consistent, the follow-up pieces, and then the results of that follow-up. So if you just send one letter off, or you make one phone call, or whatever it is, you're probably going to have a lower response rate than having, even just a 3-touch consistency. So very powerful. David, before we get off, if someone wants to reach out to you and, kind of get in touch about starting a campaign, how would they do that?
Sure. So here's our contact information right up here. YellowLettersComplete.com is our website. You can go there, request a sample pack. We'll give you a whole series of truly handwritten envelopes, handwritten sticky notes that you can take a look at. We have a lot of different types of mail to, again, kind of boost that engagement, show differentiation across the touches. Give us a call anytime. Our phone number is right there. The best email is going to be info@YellowLettersComplete.com. We monitor that 7 days a week. So, and I'll always do a one-on-one consultation with anyone who wants to get a little personal advice and do a custom campaign. We have a ton of templates, a ton of, starting points, but again, customizing that, making it fit your budget, your market, your list, your branding, all of that's going to be important as well. And, I'll take the time to do that with anyone. So, you can go onto our website, reach out to us, and schedule a meeting with me through the website as well. So, get in touch, and we'd love to help you out with your next direct marketing campaign.
David, that's awesome. Well, guys, you've heard it from the guy who's making it happen with handwritten letters. If you're interested in COVID data, go to Likely.AI/COVID, or just email more deals at Likely.AI. We'll get you information. But I think it's really powerful if you were to pair that intelligence that we provide as that service with Yellow Letters Complete for direct mail. So if you're a lender, realtor, real estate investor, home servicer, think about doing the pair, because I think that there's a lot of magic that could happen between here. So with that, thank you very much, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back in touch on the next edition. Whenever we film it, I don't know.
Thank you, everyone.